You know that feeling when a room is so cold it feels intentional? It was sterile. It smelled like stale coffee and, cheap ambition. They didn't even raise their voices, didn't have the decency to look me in the eye. It was just this scripted monotone from some lawyer who couldn't build a birdhouse, let alone the company I built from nothing. And my wife, my board member spouse, she just sat there, said nothing. Just folded her hands neatly on that big polished table like she was waiting for a massage, not watching the public execution of my life's work. My brother-in-law, Rick, he did this smug little lean back in the chair I actually bought for him. They called it strategic misalignment. Right. I called it what it was, a backstabbing.
So security escorted me out. The guy with the clipboard, he wouldn't even meet my gaze. And just like that, I was a ghost in the building I laid the cornerstone for. But here's the thing. I didn't rage. I didn't pull the fire alarm. I smiled. A nice, big smile. The kind that makes people really uncomfortable because they know it means something they just don't understand yet. And in the quiet of my car, I didn't feel rage. I felt this low, steady hum of a plan just clicking into place.
I drove home, not to the house they all knew, but to the garage. The real origin. No music, no phone calls, just the quiet of a man breathing through something dangerous. You see, the betrayal wasn't an ending. No, it was an activation.
Man, that garage, it still smelled like sweat and WD-40. It smelled like where it all began. Inside, I went over to this old filing cabinet in the corner. Not the obvious one, no. The one with the false bottom, even she didn't know about. And inside was this old, worn flash drive. I plugged it into a laptop I'd purpose-built to be completely offline, air-gapped, and I opened the folder marked Failsafe Protocol.
I clicked play on a video file, and there I was, 2 years younger, talking right to the camera. If you're watching this, I said, it means they did it. They finally thought they were clever enough. You may have taken the wheel, but I cut the brakes months ago. Good. That means we're ready. And then I smiled, the exact same one I gave them in the boardroom. See, they thought I'd been coasting the last few years, just letting them handle the business end while I played the tired old founder. The truth, I was building a shadow playbook. And it wasn't out of paranoia, not really. It was out of pattern recognition. People don't show you who they are when times are good. They show you who they are when there's money on the table.
So I spent my nights reading tax code like other people read spy novels. I was building these quiet surgical contracts, and every time we raised funds or issued new shares, I let them bump their percentages up on paper. I mean, Joel once approved a 42-page restructuring addendum on his iPhone during a conference call about golf. They were so busy trying to climb the pyramid, they didn't even notice I was building a trapdoor right underneath it.
So by the time they voted me out, they thought I owned less than 10%. No blocking power, no veto rights, no seat at the table. But what they didn't know, what they never even thought to look for, was that I still held 48.6% of the company through a trust. It was called Cascade Equities. In substance, I was still the goddamn king. I just happened to be wearing a mask. That night, I opened a clean spreadsheet. It was labeled access points. Every document, every override, every single protocol I needed to flip control in less than 24 hours was right there. But not to me. Oh no, that would have been way too obvious. This next move, it required a different kind of beast. One they feared a whole lot more than they ever feared me. Malcolm Glass. Just saying his name kind of tastes like a threat, you know? He's a corporate raider who tried to acquire us 7 years ago. A man I had very publicly told to go pound sand. He was the perfect instrument for what was about to happen next. I sent one email from a clean Proton address. The subject line was just, "Interested in finishing what you started?" He replied in 7 minutes. We spoke after midnight. I was barefoot in my garage, a burner phone pressed to my ear. I told him the number of shares and my one condition. It had to be done overnight, a full transfer, no leaks. The deal was struck. What the family never ever understood was that Malcolm Glass was never my enemy. He was my weapon. And tonight I was pulling the pin. All 48.6% would transfer to a new holding company that he controlled. And just as a little contingency, if anyone tried to claw it back in court, well, a copy of the family's internal chat logs, you know, the creative phrases they used for minorities, the questionable tax moves, was sitting in escrow ready to go. The transfer began, a silent digital revolution happening while they all slept soundly. By sunrise,
The company no longer belonged to anyone with my last name. It had been fed, whole and trembling, into the hands of a machine that was built for one thing: acquisition. And not a single soul had noticed. Not yet.
It started as a trickle, a system glitch. Then Rick, our king of buzzwords, was just staring at a screen that said he was no longer the administrator. The corporate lawyer, I heard he went pale, seeing that the shareholder registry had been completely rewritten overnight. By 9:15 a.m., a short, lethal press release hit every single inbox. The company had a new master. My wife texted me, "What did you do?" I didn't answer. While their Slack channels were just lighting up with panic and confusion, I sat in my driveway. The sun was warm. I was sipping coffee from a mug that still had the old company logo on it. I thought about smashing it. But then again, it wasn't mine anymore. Neither was the company. And neither was theirs.
So, the emergency board meeting began with about 12 different kinds of panic in the air. Rick was sweating through his quarter zip, barking orders that nobody could follow. Joel was pacing around muttering about fraud. It was chaos. And then the main monitor just flickered to life. It was Malcolm Glass. He didn't bother with pleasantries. "I look forward to running this company better than you ever did," he said. When Joel started protesting, Malcolm just cut him off. "I didn't walk in, Joel. You opened the door years ago, the moment you were stupid enough to push out the only man who knew where the foundation was laid." Then a new org chart just appeared on all their screens. Malcolm, chairman. Rick's name? Gone. Joel, pending review. My wife? Yeah, she was reduced to a non-voting advisory capacity. He showed them, right there in black and white, that they were completely and utterly powerless.
His last line was, it was brutal. He said, "This was a will reading, and you just found out Daddy left it all to someone else." And with that, Malcolm ended the call. The screen went black, leaving them in a silence so thick you could strangle on it. The landmines I'd laid 2 years ago, they had just danced right over every single one.
She showed up at my place later that night. Her armor was finally failing. She tried to appeal to our memory, to the life we built, and then she asked if this was all just revenge, a way to prove a point. "No," I said. "This is consequence." And then, without another word, I just closed the door. The rest just followed like dominoes. Joel was gone in a day. Rick lasted 2 weeks. The company name was changed. The family members who'd been coasting on my name, they were escorted out one by one. I heard whispers of foreclosures, of little startup ventures just dissolving into thin air. I didn't have to lift a finger. I'd put a hammer in a shark's hand. I didn't need to tell him where to swing. And I never said a word. Not one. No press releases, no op-eds, no victory laps. I just created a vacuum. A silence. And it ate them alive. Because when you betray a builder, and he burns the blueprint before walking away, you're not left with nothing. You're left with what you built. And they had never built a damn thing. And really, it all leaves you with this question, right? In the end, what echoes louder? A scream of outrage or the silence of a perfectly closed door? Some revenge is loud. It bellows, it shouts, it demands attention. But the most effective kind? Well, it's silent, it's strategic, and it is absolutely irreversible. It doesn't need to make a sound to be heard across a lifetime.